Hey everybody, Three Drinks Down. This is Nate, and today I have a review for you of Russell's Reserve 13. Hey everybody, like I said at the top, we've got Russell's Reserve 13, and the question I'm going to lead here is, was this the best Wild Turkey release of 2022? I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But to be honest with you, there's been some hitters this year, so it's going to be tough for me to say that it was or it wasn't. But to start off, a little bit about the bourbon, just so you guys know if you have it. This is batch 2. It comes in at 114.8 proof. And it's meant to be actually a celebration of the entire Russell family, although this one in particular in the press release mentioned honoring Eddie Russell because it was his 41st year with a distillery this year. So that's pretty interesting and always a neat story to have that. But let's get into the bourbon a little bit. Though before we do, here's the one thing I could ask. Could you guys please consider dropping a like on this video, leaving me a comment about what was your favorite Wild Turkey release this year, and while you're at it, go ahead and click that subscribe button if you would please. It would mean a lot to us. Thank you. So let's jump right in on the nose on this one. This one just pops with some apple. This one just has a beautiful, almost leathery finish. There's definitely a nice, just aged wood component, getting out almost into dusty territory. Maybe some other red fruit. I'm terrible with red fruit. You guys know that. It's just where I'm at in my journey. I'll get it eventually. But honestly, just one of the more beautiful noses this year to me, especially on a product that's starting out where my age range typically starts to be questionable on a lot of products. This one really doesn't take that 13 year and say, oh, it's too oaky. Don't get me wrong. It's there though. All right, let's taste this one. On first sip, I love it when it follows the nose, right? I'm gonna take a second sip before I start talking about actually what I'm experiencing, but first sip, it follows the nose, and I love that. You wanna get some new things, and there's some other things here that might be different, but one second, let me get the second sip in. Okay, so there's some differences. Had to start to coat differently. Beautiful hug, just straight down the chest, little Kentucky hug. So that's on the finish, obviously, but apple, cherry pie potentially slight, but it's not prominent, not huge. Still some leather. I know I'm probably smacking. Sorry, I won't do that. Definitely at the end, I get baking spices, rye spices. I can't tell if that's pulling apart a little more of like a pepper in that spice or not, but it's definitely there. And that's all subject to that oak coming back and just having that nice, beautiful finish lead to that hug. You know, I think the only thing I haven't hit on yet is just how much of a mouthfeel presence this has. James, we joke, mouthfeel accountability. It definitely has it. It's oily, it coats. There's still taste on a lot of the palate for an extended period of time. And the finish on it's just a very long finish, super enjoyable. So I don't think there's any secret about where I'd be on purchase, pour, or pass on this. This is a definite purchase for me at retail, 10 times out of 10. It's $100. So it's at the beginning end of the range where you would expect to see these premium releases, which is spectacular. Now, secondary, gonna range up to 300s-ish. Probably not a buy it secondary for me. I love this a lot. I really do, to be honest with you. But for $300, I could do a lot more damage for some other things. Namely, go getting some other bottles I may mention here in a second as well. But this is an excellent one to get. It's probably not gonna be a shelfie that you'll find. So if you are in a bar and you get a chance to get a pour of it, I would highly recommend that as well. But what about the question I asked at the top of the episode? Is this the best Wild Turkey release of 2022? It's tough for me. I've had a chance to try a pour of Master's Keep Unforgotten and the single Rickhouse. So those are two of the more recent premium releases. And again, I mentioned earlier, I haven't tried them all. So I'll be careful to say, if there was something in January, February that I missed, I apologize. I don't mean to leave it out. Where would I place this one? I'd place this one just behind the Master's Keep Unforgotten on my favorites from Wild Turkey this year. And it was tough because obviously that's a Burai. So this is probably their best pure bourbon they've released to me. So if you want to look at it that way, it is the best bourbon, but obviously Unforgotten's a blend. I just something about the Unforgotten. And that's where I want to tie in the whole point I made earlier about purchase, pour, or pass is for that $300 price tag to go get this on secondary. I could, if I find it at retail, I can buy this bottle and an Unforgotten for that same price. And I would prefer to go that route if that was an option to me. It may not be. Those Unforgotten seem to fly off the shelves. You don't see them at all. But at the same time, they're at the same secondary range as this bottle. So it's super interesting study in that one for me. But it'd be a first world problem if I ran across both bottles. I'd probably have to snag them both up at retail and be a happy person and tell you that I've got two of the best, if not the best, turkey releases this year. So I'd love to know how you guys feel, what you think. Maybe it's one of those things where this just isn't for you because you don't prefer the proof, you don't prefer the oak, you don't prefer any of the flavor profiles. Maybe there's something else that struck your fancy. Maybe that Rick House really, really got you in the right feels spot, Let me know. I'd love to hear in the comments below. But in the meantime, this has been a review for you.